Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into the fascinating world of wellness tourism in Thailand.
Yeah, looking at how it's grown, especially over the last 5 years or so.
Exactly. So if you've ever considered a trip that's all about, feeling better, maybe some healing, or just boosting your well-being,
Or even if you're just curious about how a country can become a real leader in this global wellness space.
then this deep dive is definitely for you. We're going to unpack what makes Thailand such a popular spot.
And we're basing this on a pretty detailed study. It was published in the International Journal for Multidisciplinary Research.
Right. And they didn't just look at numbers, did they?
No, not at all. They used interviews, statistical models. They mentioned the compound growth rate, or CGR.
Okay.
And they looked at data and perspectives from, well, all sorts of different people involved, stakeholders.
Got it. So our mission today is basically to pull out the key insights from all that research.
Yep. Give you a clear sense of the growth, the reasons behind it, and what really makes Thailand unique here.
Okay, so where do we start? Big picture first.
I think so. The study kicks off by saying, look, wellness tourism isn't just some niche thing anymore. It's a huge and growing global industry. Profitable, too.
And Thailand's really jumped on that, hasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. They've explicitly aimed to be a leader in Asia. And it's not just talk. There's real commitment from both the government and private companies.
The study mentioned something about potential bumps in the road, though, like economic cycles.
Yeah, that's a fair point they raise. Economies go up and down.
Right.
And things like wellness travel, which can be seen as, well, discretionary spending.
Might get cut back when times are tough.
Exactly. So while the trend is really strong, you always have that potential economic factor influencing things. Makes you think about how they plan to stay resilient.
It does. Okay, before we go further, let's pin down what we actually mean by wellness tourism. It's easy to just think, oh, medical holidays.
Right. But it's much more than that. The study really stresses it's about actively pursuing health and, a long life.
So proactive stuff, prevention.
Exactly. Preventative therapies, practices. It's not just waiting until you're sick.
Which really taps into how people think about health these days, doesn't it? More holistic.
Totally. There's this growing desire for wellness in, all parts of life. People are drawn to these holistic views, mind, body, spirit, the whole package.
And maybe looking for things beyond just standard medicine.
Yeah, definitely. Traditional or complementary approaches are popular, often because they're seen as having fewer side effects or just being gentler.
So it's less about fixing illness, more about nurturing health.
Yeah.
That mind-body connection thing.
Precisely. The study points that out, a growing awareness of that link. So wellness tourism becomes about traveling specifically to kind of rejuvenate.
To get back in balance.
Yeah, regain that spirit-body balance. And that can involve treatments based on, different philosophies, things outside the usual Western medical box.
That makes sense. And Thailand, well, it has a seriously long history with this stuff, right?
Yeah.
This study mentioned it goes way back.
It's pretty amazing, actually. We're talking over 2,500 years of ancient healing practices and wellness traditions in Thailand.
Wow.
This isn't something they just cooked up for tourists recently. It's deep in their cultural DNA.
2,500 years. Where did all that traditional knowledge even start?
Well, the study mentions things like historical physicians, even ancient stone inscriptions. It's wisdom passed down through generations.
And it wasn't just ancient history, right? Didn't it get a boost later on?
Yeah, absolutely. During King Rama III's time, that's the 19th century, there was a big revival, a sort of renaissance for traditional medicine.
So valuing those old ways.
Exactly. That period was really key in reaffirming these practices.
And then more recently, the government got involved. The Ministry of Public Health.
Right. They played a big role. Initially, they set up modern public health services, brought in Western medicine.
Okay.
But crucially, they also recognized how important traditional medicine was within the whole system.
So they didn't just push the old ways aside.
Not at all. They actually set up a specific department of traditional medicine, and they made agreements with nearby countries to protect indigenous medical knowledge. It showed they were serious about preserving it.
And that commitment continued.
It did. They later established the Department of Medical Services, aiming for high-quality healthcare overall, but with a real focus on protecting Thailand's wellness heritage.
So keeping standards high.
Yeah, and ensuring that cultural aspect wasn't lost.
There was even something about a specific law.
Right. Back in 1959, a committee was formed to draft the Thai Traditional Medicine and Massage Act. That was a huge step in giving these methods official recognition and structure.
And then they actually built a hospital just for this.
Yes. In 1964, it's thought to be the world's first hospital dedicated specifically to traditional and manual medicine.
Incredible. What was the main idea behind it?
Kind of threefold, really. Ensuring safety and effectiveness, meeting patient demand, and also developing that local wisdom further.
And that must have really sparked public interest.
Absolutely. Opening that hospital definitely fueled demand for things like traditional Thai massage and meditation. People started actively seeking them out.
So how did the health ministry handle that growing interest?
They were pretty proactive. They started offering more traditional treatments, services, even products, all aimed at that kind of holistic rejuvenation. They saw the potential.
And it wasn't just the government side, right? Private places started popping up too.
Exactly. Specialized medical places, holistic wellness retreats. The private sector saw the demand and the opportunity and started building facilities to match.
And all this led to a big push a bit later on, like mid-2000s.
Yeah, 2005 to 2007 was really key. You saw this strong collaboration between the government and private industry.
Working together.
Yeah, really pushing the whole wellness industry forward. That partnership was crucial in making Thailand the destination it is today.
Okay, so we've got the deep history, the government support. Now the numbers. The study called the growth a phenomenal upsurge. That sounds pretty dramatic.
It really was. I mean, the figures are kind of staggering. Between 2010 and 2015, the average number of wellness visitors each year was 14 times higher than the number in 2010 alone.
14 times?
Yeah.
That's not just growth, that's an explosion.
Exactly. And the projected annual growth rate.
What was it?
They forecasted it at about 82% per year for the sector.
82% annually. That's
Yeah.
just wild. You don't see that often.
No, you really don't. It shows how strongly Thailand captured this emerging market.
And was there a particular year when it really took off?
Yeah, the study points to 2013 as a key year. There was a really significant spike then, which kind of cemented Thailand's place as a top wellness spot.
Can you give us some concrete numbers just to get a feel for the scale?
Sure. So in 2010, you had about 1.16 million wellness visitors. That was like just under 4% of all foreign tourists.
Okay.
Fast forward just 4 years to 2014, that number jumped to over 12.1 million wellness visitors.
That was million.
Yeah, and that was almost 13.76% to be exact, of all foreign tourists coming to Thailand.
Wow. That's a huge shift in both volume and the reason people are visiting.
A massive shift. It really shows how central wellness became to their tourism appeal.
And the study looked at what people were actually doing on these trips using online data.
Yeah, they analyzed digital content, things people were searching for or talking about online.
And what came out on top?
Massage and spa treatments were the big ones. The study suggests it was often about dealing with the aches and pains of travel or stress from work.
Ah, so immediate relief and relaxation.
Exactly. It points to a strong demand for that kind of instant well-being boost, not just, long-term healing programs.
Okay, that makes sense. So let's dig into the why now. Why this incredible growth? The study talked about demand side and supply side factors. Let's start with demand. What's pulling people towards this?
Okay, demand side. A big driver is just this global trend, this growing focus everywhere on personal well-being and self-care.
Right, people are definitely more invested in their health now.
Yeah, willing to spend time and money on it. Plus, you've got lifestyle trends pushing healthy living and holistic experiences. People want trips that fit that vibe.
And people are living longer too, right? Does that play a role?
It does. The study mentions that. As lifespans increase, there's more demand for ways to stay healthy and active later in life.
Maintaining quality of life. Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else driving demand?
Yes, this whole idea of experiential travel. People don't just want to see things. They want to do things, have authentic experiences.
Immerse themselves.
Exactly. And crucially, there's this growing group of travelers where wellness isn't just part of the trip, it's the main reason they're going. They're intentionally seeking out wellness retreats and experiences.
Got it. So the demand is definitely there. How about the supply side? How has Thailand met that demand?
Well, there's been a huge boom in places offering these services. Spas, resorts, retreat centers, tons of options.
More places.
More places, yes, but also innovation. The providers are constantly updating what they offer, trying to meet those evolving demands from travelers. They're not standing still.
Now, we touched on the cultural side earlier, but that seems absolutely key to Thailand's appeal. How does the study frame that?
Oh, it's fundamental. Thailand's reputation is built on these genuine traditional practices. Things like Thai massage, herbal steam therapy, those herbal compresses.
That is the real deal.
Exactly. They're not just gimmicks. And they're seen as nourishing the whole person, physical, emotional, spiritual well-being.
A truly holistic approach.
Right. That really clicks with what wellness travelers are looking for.
And it's deeply embedded in the culture, you said.
Yes, based on strong traditional values, beliefs, local wisdom passed down for generations. That authenticity is a huge draw.
And you can find these practices pretty much anywhere.
Pretty much. From, simple setups in rural homes right up to the most luxurious spas, it makes wellness accessible across the board.
And there's that connection to nature, too.
Yeah, that holistic philosophy often links humans with nature, aiming for harmony and balance. That really resonates in today's world.
Okay, and then there's the government role again. They've actively nurtured this, haven't they?
Absolutely. Government commitment has been huge. And that collaboration between public and private sectors we mentioned.
What kind of specific things have they done? Policies?
All sorts. The study mentions overseeing the service sector to keep quality up, working to expand the market, developing infrastructure.
The roads and airports?
Yeah, making it easier to get around. Also, international partnerships, setting clear guidelines for the industry, even things like travel card systems to make visiting smoother.
Sounds like a very deliberate strategy.
It really does. They focused on tapping into that quality tourism market and making sure the service was exceptional.
And the Ministry of Public Health had its own specific focus.
Yes, since 2010, they've had this integrated policy aiming to boost quality of life and health right down at the community level.
How does that connect to tourism?
Well, it included emphasizing rehab programs, encouraging different agencies to work together, focusing on community well-being. They see tourism as complementing the national health system and helping local development.
Interesting connection. And they worked on strengthening the providers, too.
Exactly. Policies to support the health service providers, help them build a clear identity, ensure quality across different regions.
And technology. Did that come into it?
Yep. Using tech and communication to make sure health facilities are easy to access for everyone, visitors included.
And looking outwards, too, internationally.
Definitely. Commitment to international research, academic cooperation, being accountable. Thailand's actively engaging globally to learn and share best practices in wellness.
It's clear there are a lot of different groups involved here. Who does the study identify as the key players, the stakeholders?
It lists quite a few. Obviously, the wellness businesses themselves, the spas, resorts, practitioners.
The ones providing the services.
Right. Then, very importantly, the residents, the local people, the workforce. They're crucial.
Makes sense. Who else?
Policy planners, government officials making the decisions, the marketing organizations, the ones promoting Thailand for wellness. And the destination management organizations, they focus on keeping the tourist areas attractive and functional.
So a mix of government and industry bodies.
Exactly. Plus, you've got public regulators ensuring safety and quality standards are met.
Right.
Host community residents again, because they provide that authentic cultural experience. And NGOs, non-governmental organizations working in health, wellness, education, support roles.
Wow, that's a lot of cooks in the kitchen, so to speak.
It is. And the study really highlights how important it is to manage everyone's expectations and get them all cooperating. That's key for sustainable growth. Everyone needs to be pulling in the same direction.
Okay. Now, just briefly, how did the researchers actually gather all this info? What was their method?
They use a mix of approaches. Quantitative, the numbers part, and qualitative, the more descriptive, in-depth part.
So interviews.
Yep, in-depth interviews with wellness tourists, industry professionals, academics, government officials, getting perspectives from all sides.
And surveys.
Online surveys, too, specifically with Thai entrepreneurs in wellness and hospitality.
Okay.
And they analyzed existing data, secondary data. They used techniques like thematic analysis to find patterns, looked at big data, even text mining from written sources.
And you mentioned that CGR model earlier for the growth numbers.
Right, the compound growth rate. That was specifically for analyzing the quantitative growth, how it compounded year over year.
And the qualitative side, the interviews and things, what kind of insights did that provide?
It explored things like, what are the top trends influencing what tourists want right now? How do those trends shape wellness travel specifically?
Understanding the customer.
Exactly. Also, looking at the different types of wellness travelers, their personalities, motivations, what makes them tick.
And what makes a place feel like a wellness destination?
Yeah, they looked at special products or services in hotels that create that real wellness culture. And interestingly, they emphasized how Thailand's advantage comes back to its people, their inherent connection to health and wellness.
And specific locations came up.
Yes, Phuket was highlighted. Its existing popularity and infrastructure make it a really strong base for wellness tourism. It's got a head start, in a way.
Got it. Okay, finally, the study looked ahead challenges and opportunities. What did it flag up?
Well, on the challenge side, competition is a big one. Other countries are seeing the success and wanting a piece of the wellness pie.
Naturally.
Plus, consumer tastes change, right? So Thailand needs to keep adapting, keep innovating, keep that service quality really high. Can't rest on their laurels.
Makes sense. And the opportunities.
Big opportunities in playing to their strength, that amazing culture, the traditions, the strong reputation they've built, and tailoring things even more to what wellness tourists are looking for now.
Any specific areas?
The study mentions sustainable development for smaller businesses in the wellness sector, helping them benefit too.
And potential future hurdles.
Yeah, they flagged things like environmental concerns, tourism always has an impact. Maintaining high standards for practitioners is crucial, health privacy issues, and, of course, the cost of treatments can be a factor.
So lots to keep an eye on.
Definitely. It suggests operators really need to stay on top of trends and focus on sustainable strategies for the long haul.
This has been incredibly thorough, really fascinating stuff. Let's try and sum up the main takeaways.
Okay. First, I think, is just the sheer scale of the growth. Thailand's performance in wellness tourism over the last 5 years has been truly remarkable. They're a major global player now.
Absolutely. And that success isn't random. It's clearly driven by this mix of global wellness trends, Thailand's own deep cultural roots in healing, and really smart, proactive government support.
Couldn't agree more. And that leads to the third point, really. The importance of collaboration. Getting all those different stakeholders, businesses, government, communities working together is vital for continued success and making sure it's sustainable.
So for you listening, whether you're actually planning a wellness getaway or just interested in how global tourism works, Thailand's story is pretty insightful.
Yeah, it really shows how focusing on holistic well-being and leveraging cultural heritage can actually drive significant economic growth and social development.
Definitely gives you food for thought.
And maybe one last thing to ponder. Seeing how Thailand has thrived, what other kinds of unique cultural assets could other countries tap into for this growing wellness market?
Interesting question.
And also, as these traditional wellness practices become more commercial, what ethical things do we need to consider? Just something to think about.
Great points. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive.